What's up, fam? Little late start, apologize. Some technical difficulties. The heat is not cooperating with our electricity right now.
Not at all.
With some things, but we are birds of a feather. It's Tuesday nights. It's 8:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're coming at you live from the Real Talk Studios here on A2D Radio on Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, Facebook, and the YouTube. Chrome, Mr. Kevin Godwin here. No Chucks. He's living in the lap of luxury over there in Fiji, hopefully bringing us back some of that true Fiji water. And Mr. Ryan Brodo over here on the ones and twos. It's been an eventful night already for us, boys. Hi. Hey, better late than never.
No, listen, man.
It's the story of my life. I'm a fashionably late person.
It's you. It's you. It's you.
Me.
All your fault.
It is me. We talked about this before, which, by the way, Lazy Booking is coming back this Thursday night after a month, and this is when this all starts. It's every night that I have a show, something doesn't cooperate right. I am a jinx, and I apologize to the fam for the late start. But we're brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountants. Make them yours. GibsonMayer.com, as well as Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find them in Cherry Hill, Princeton, Burlington, New Jersey. Find them on the web at SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Our Scanzano Sports topic of conversation tonight that we're going to get into, the panic over the Eagles' backup quarterback situation is overblown. Agree or disagree? But before we get into that, we're calling an audible. We're going to do we're doing No Huddle at the end of the show, but about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, there was a little bit of a breaking story, which is kind of insane. Exactly. It was just kind of blowing our minds. So we're going to just take 5 minutes now at the beginning of the show just to at least mention it. It's a story that a lot of details still have to come out. But former Major League players, Octavio Dotel, famous for pitching for about 19 different teams, and Luis Castillo of Mets fame, the favorite team on this station, the Mets, Rob Bovia, of Mets fame, were arrested for their part in a massive drug ring going on in the Dominican Republic. So we don't know their involvement totally yet in this, but they were arrested, tied to a major, I believe the most major drug ring going on right now in the Dominican Republic. And I think it was something doing with drug smuggling, money laundering, all kinds of wonderful acts that great human beings do. But the twist to it, and I have to find it again, Ryan, to get this guy's name. I have it here. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time.
Take my time.
It's turned into like an episode of 24. It's like one leads to the other, leads to the other.
Yeah, everything's all tied together here.
So the drug cartel that they're tied to is led by Cesar Emilio Peralta.
Hi, Cesar.
Who is a fugitive right now. And if you follow the David Ortiz situation, he's a suspect in that situation, which creates all kinds of potential parallels of, are these guys in on the orchestrated attempted hit on David Ortiz's life. It's crazy. And I'm pretty sure that one of these guys may have, Octavio Dotel played for 20 teams. He may have played with David Ortiz at some point.
It's quite possible.
I'd have to look. But it's just such a crazy, crazy, crazy story right now that I just wanted to get like your thoughts. I mean, we were kind of like at first like, oh, this is interesting. Tom sent it to us from Epcot. Mr. Florida over there.
From the freaking clouds, dropping breaking news.
Dropping breaking news. And we were just kind of like, oh, this is a story. And then like 10 minutes later, the updated story that dropped added in the Emilio Peralta, who again was tied to the Ortiz thing. And it's like, whoa.
Well,
lots of details because, again, we don't know the details of their involvement. They said there's going to be more details released. But damn. Reactions?
Well, this was the first reaction, I think, for all of us. It was something like this.
What's going on? Y'all are going to jail! Period!
I mean, that's like a universal reaction.
Oh, right?
Yeah, when I saw it first come out, and then and everything tied back to Ortiz, which is even bigger than we thought in the first place, because you get one of the shooters from the Ortiz situation was tied back to Philly, and how do you go? Yeah, that whole string all the way back from one simple club incident to now everybody's involved.
Like, hell, maybe we should be careful about how deep we talk into this. I don't know who's listening to this. I'm not trying to get pulled into anything.
Listen, I'm off screen. I'm okay.
But it's crazy. Like, it really is. And again, I mean, this could have nothing to do in their part with the Ortiz thing. Or who knows? I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. They could have been at least knowledgeable that this was going to happen, which would be insane. That two major leaguers would have knowledge on another major leaguer's hit, like for his life.
First, you get the tainted alcohol in the hotels. Now you get, MLB stars running the mob down there.
I don't know. I mean, Tom's still insisting he ain't afraid of no ghosts down there in the DR. He's going to sit there and sip his foo-foo drinks. So it's a story to keep an eye on. I mean, I think we felt compelled to mention it off the top because I know our minds were kind of blown, especially, again, when more details of the ties, the parallels, started coming out. But we're going to get back to Eagles talk, and we're going to talk other things. So tonight on the agenda, guys, we're going to do a quick wrap-up of the preseason game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a quick preview of the Ravens game, and we're going to talk about the backup quarterback situation, which has had some sort of a, at least for now, resolution. Some people love, some people don't. We're going to get into that. So, so real quick, any takeaways from the preseason game? Because I'm going to be honest. Preseason game one, and fam, I want you guys to kind of indulge us a little bit on, how interested you get as the preseason goes on. Because I know for me, and I'm really not usually super into preseason to begin with. But for this season, I was really excited because I wanted to see Andre Diller. I wanted to see Miles Sanders. I wanted to see J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. And I wanted to see what these guys would look like on the field in uniform. Game two, again, you want to see a little bit of that. But I'm not as, overly excited for it until we get maybe to the last. Or three is usually a good one because a lot of them don't play in the fourth game. So I was kind of hit and miss on this game watching. I watched a little, most of the first quarter, a little bit of the second quarter. Was there any takeaways that you guys had from this game?
Yeah, for me, I agree completely. I don't really look too much into any game outside of three where you're most likely going to see Wentz play for at least a quarter, maybe the first half. But it's really up and down, right? You've got a lot of blown coverages as far as missing open tackles and stuff like that. Then you've got other plays that make your defense look like it can't be stopped and putting all kinds of pressure on the quarterback. It's like you never know which one you're going to get and which one, what plays are just situational that don't mean anything to watch for anyway. So it's kind of hard to judge right now. I think next week will be the bigger tell, especially going against a formidable defense who has been playing starters most of the first and second game. So that's the game I'd look at. But
well, I think from game one, and me and Ryan kind of touched on this a little bit earlier before we went on the air. I mean, The running game, Miles Sanders couldn't really get a whole lot of traction in the first game against Tennessee, but he had a couple nice runs in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something positive to come out of it. Andre Dillard, I like the kid a lot.
Yeah, he's good.
I mean, I think this kid's going to come along and develop a lot quicker than even we possibly thought about. And I know he's a first-round pick, so you kind of expected these guys are going to come along pretty quickly. I like his guts, man. I like his fire. We talked about last week. He's had a couple scuffles in camp so far, but I like his approach to the game and wants to learn everything. I think JJ's going to be a beast. I think J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's going to be an absolute monster for this team for a long, long, long time. And that's really kind of the takeaways, I guess, for me. Just kind of more of the offensive. The defense looked pretty decent.
The only other ones that we have to cover is, once again, Pumphrey still stinks.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
We finally...
Not that you have to mention it. On this show, we have to mention it because he's Chuck's favorite player.
It's
so.
a tradition. We got a Matt Collins sighting finally on the field.
Yes.
I think he even caught a pass.
It's encouraging to see that he's on the field. So we'll see what we get out of him now.
And this is not to jump, but I think talking about Matt Collins, this next game, Game 3, is huge for him.
Yeah.
Because he's right on the bubble. I think he's on the quote-unquote fast track to make the team as the wide receiver 5 because of what they invested in him with draft capital and because he can offer a little bit more on special teams than others. Mm-hmm. But, my God, it's just good to have him back. You know what I mean?
How many times do we talk about you forget that the guy's even on the team half the time? So, it's one of those things we talked about how many times last year. It's like randomly it would just pop in our head almost like a random thought bubble of like, by the way, remember that guy Matt Collins?
Yeah.
Is he still with the team? What's his deal? Anybody heard anything about him?
The Redskins?
Well, I think the issue that keeps popping up is, especially we talked off there with the Patriots having 12 wide receivers. The Eagles have the same situation.
Yeah.
Is if you bring up a guy like Matt Collins, it's who do you leave out to open that spot up for?
Difference between the Patriots and the Eagles situation. I'm not taking a shot, but I'm taking a shot.
Go ahead.
The quality of high-level wide receivers are much, much bigger on the Philadelphia Eagles.
I see your quality, and I raise you a Tom Brady who can make grocery baggers into what you see in Edelman.
He's not lying.
And then I counter with you, we're going to play chess, with the open mouth kisses.
There you go. There you go. Do you have a counter to that?
I see your kisses, and I raise you 5 more rings.
And Greg, by the way, is spot on, and he says, and they cut Shelton Gibson, so if not Mac, then who? Greg Ward, Braxton Miller, either that or that Markin Michelle, who had the big catch week 1.
See, to me, he's the possible outside threat that could make the team.
I actually, and again, when we get to like 5th, 6th, 7th receivers, it's kind of like we're just playing games here. But I say that Greg Ward, out of anybody that's not Matt Collins, has a better chance because he's been in the system for 3 years.
Sure.
And they clearly like him because they've kept him around. So that's and plus he had the touchdown in week 2.
And he's an emergency quarterback.
Oh, don't you do
I'm just saying.
Don't you do that. Not today.
Listen, I made a commitment to the fam to have real talk. I'm not avoiding this conversation.
I am.
I'm not diving into the conversation either. But I'm just saying, you can't say when you list the attributes that he can contribute to the team that that's not something you consider.
Okay,
particularly when Nate Sudfeld is now down. And when Cody Kessler, who probably won't make the team now anyway, when Cody Kessler gets hurt. I mean, you can't not mention it.
Aside from that horror show, Deshaun Hall, he looks good again. He looks like he has a really good chance of making the team.
A lot of depth there on the wide receiver side for the Eagles. And, I mean, you have Josh Gordon back.
Right.
Sort of. It's conditionally, right?
It is conditionally, but I believe.
So what's the conditions?
They haven't said.
Okay.
That I've seen.
Okay.
He lives in a bubble.
This is what I get from Kevin all week, fam. This is what I get from Kevin. But Tom's taking him in as his little brother now.
Hey.
He's adopting
him.
Well, what did he do last year, Kevin?
He wasn't all in, I guess. He wasn't sold.
Oh, what are you quoting, John Gruden or Mike Mayock? He's all in or all out.
Well,
So-
that's a separate situation.
So he pulls
altogether.
what he pulls last year, and now all of a sudden Tom is just like, all right, I'm all in.
Well, last year was a little bit different situation. He got suspended for leaving the team. Is he knew that he was going into? It wasn't that he failed anything. He was like, I'm back in a bad place. I'm not gonna go off and fail. I'm just gonna immediately put myself into
I'm
rehab.
going to go smoke some weed and chill out for a little bit and
He didn't
get
fail.
myself leveled.
He wasn't tested last year, so he couldn't fail. But he didn't get suspended last
It's
year
hard to fail for something that
failing.
you don't
Come
take.
on,
Yeah.
man.
What was it? He didn't show up?
Yeah, he didn't show up, which was
So he failed.
So that's
Come
even better. That's even better. Let's
he-
just not show up at all.
yeah, he
That's a
didn't,
I
DNS.
can-
Did
when-
not show.
When I can be there and I choose not to show up, that's even better.
yeah. He just skipped practice, went straight to rehab instead. He's like, you know what, guys, call me here.
I'll
if you
save you
need
the
me."
trouble.
Yeah.
Save the trouble. I'll see you
Listen,
here.
guys, I'm just gonna go. I'll see you next.
We know
year.
how this ends.
I'll try again next year.
So yep. Oh well. Better luck next time.
I've got some YouTube fam if you want to run through that.
Yeah, let me hit the Facebook
Yeah,
real
sure.
quick. Bill Middle, I may have lost a couple comments on the Facebook, so I apologize because I had to pop out of it real quick. I know Clinky was in there. He said, "What's up? What's up, Clinky?" Bill Middlebrook, yo boys, what's up, fam? Not much, brother.
What's up, Bill?
Greg says, "We back? Let's go. We're back." Kyle says, "No panic over the quarterback position now. Have a great show, boys. Appreciate you, Kyle." Greg Malakovic completely agreed to the poll question. It's a backup. If Wentz goes down, we're done anyway. 1,000%, Greg. 1,000% spot on. And all this up in arms over the quarterback situation. But we'll get back into it. Greg says, "You're ginger. We know that. Hell yeah." Pete Evans, yo, what's up, Pete?
What's up, Pete?
Frank Vespi, hey, yo. Sorry that this heat is bothering you at work. Have to agree with the poll. Appreciate you, brother. Greg, drug ring talk. Bill, easy money. You play, you pay. Tom Arnone, what's up, boys? What's up, Tom? Hoping you're enjoying Florida and Epcot and all that stuff. Bill Middlebrook. Hey, Kev, congratulations on getting a guy that has over a decade of bullshit and definitely suspended back on the field. Only the Patriots. Backdoor deal.
Thoughts?
It amazes me that this guy continually is giving. And I'm actually a Josh Gordon supporter.
I like him.
I want
On the
every
field.
time for him to get it together because I don't think he's a bad guy.
No, he was never a locker room distraction.
he's not
intentionally, at least.
right. Like he's not a bad guy. He just makes stupid decisions with weed.
Yeah.
Like that's his thing. He just can't get off the weed. If anybody says that marijuana is not addictive, look at Josh Gordon.
Ricky
He is
Williams.
the poster child for marijuana being addictive.
He needs to watch more Stephen A. Smith.
Well, there's a
Stay
little bit.
off the weed.
Stay off the weed.
I think the difference with bringing Gordon back is at least he has those, well, I tried moments. Last year he came back, played a little.
Are we
It's not-
rewarding the old, hey, give you the pack because I tried?
It's a lot different than the Ricky Williams situation where he's like, no, I'm just going to – I'd much rather take the weed than the money.
Ricky Williams.
Same situation.
I'm not saying it's not. It's Ricky Williams.
Same situation.
No,
but
the
just
difference
lacks of
between
the
him and
try.
Ricky Williams knew this is the way my life is going. He just totally went away.
Yeah.
And when he cleaned it up, he went back.
That's what I mean. Well, he tried.
Josh Gordon's like, I'm going to get back in again. Nope, not going to get back in again. No. It's like
It's like trying to get into a pool.
I know
you know what it's like? No, it's like a league of their own when the chick's getting into the batter's box. She starts dancing in and out.
Marla.
Marla Hooch.
Marla Hooch.
Marla Hooch. Hooch. Like that's literally like the comparison I feel like when I look at Josh Gordon, just kind of stepping in, stepping out, stepping in, stepping out. Don't know what to do.
You know what line I thought of immediately from that movie, right? When you said her name?
What's that?
What do you recommend? A lot of night games.
Oh, it's such a great
Marla.
movie. Poor Marla. But that's like that. That's the visual I'm having of him right now. It's like he goes up to the sideline. He's like in and out, in and out.
Marla freaking Hooch.
If he wasn't,
in.
he's in. He's all in now.
He's all in.
Is this the
Today.
Is this the Kevin Godwin hot take of the day? Are you guaranteeing me that Josh Gordon is all in, that Tom Brady's going to open mouth kiss him to keep him straight, and he's going to stay on the field, barring injury, which I don't wish injury on anybody. Barring injury, he will play every game this season and be all in. Are you going that far?
That's what I'm saying.
You hesitated, though. If you're going to make statements that he's all in, there should be no hesitation. And you looked at me, you looked out, and you hesitated before you answered because I peer pressured you to have to answer yes.
No. He is all in. Barring injury, Josh Gordon will play all all 19 games, 18 games, whatever it is.
No, you won't play that many.
Yeah, we will.
No, you won't. I told you. My hot take. The Dolphins 10-6. And then they're going to get the wild card. You'll win the division, but then Miami's going to beat you guys in the playoffs.
I think you were over there smoking whatever Josh was. He handed you off something.
But you know what? I'm still here. I'm still here.
Hey, you tried.
I didn't fail a test yet.
Mm-mm.
But you got peer pressured into saying you weren't going to answer.
He's
You
all
weren't convinced. And I don't believe you, but I'm going to hold you to that hot
Go
take
ahead.
for the rest of the season.
It's live. The fam heard me.
And if this doesn't come to fruition, we're going to come up with, this is like Impractical Jokers. We're coming up with a punishment on the air. There is going
wear
to
an
be a
Eagles jersey.
punishment.
He's got to wear like a Nick Foles jersey
But
or something.
he doesn't hate the Eagles. That's not a punishment for him. I should make him have to wear something Super Bowl 30 or 52 related, though. Yeah, that's it. That's the punishment.
Or he's got to burn like a Bill Belichick hoodie on the air or something.
You mean this hoodie?
Oh, there we
Put
go.
that shit down. We're not putting that up here.
Viewers' discretion is advised.
You know what I would really like to do on this show when Chucks comes back? We should all come up with a hot take. And for whoever gets it right, or you're safe, whoever doesn't has to do a punishment agreed upon by everybody on
Weekly?
the air. No, not weekly. God, that would be brutal. Although that would be intriguing.
I feel like it should be like quarterly.
We could do like
After every 4 games.
Over the next 4-week span, come up with something that's going to happen. And then for everyone that gets it right, you're good. If you don't get it right, punch. We're going to come up with this. If the fam has any ideas on how we can work this on Birds of a Feather, drop it in the comment section. Actually, I want you guys to be a part of it.
So your preseason your preseason hot take is the Dolphins going 10-6.
That would be like my overall. I mean, that's a real for me. A hot take is like nobody else is going to pick it, and I'm going all in on. I'm just going to go with it.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm that sold on it.
He's retracting.
I just
Am
like
I-
to
Go
troll,
on.
but I like to troll him with it.
Mine would have to be Brady retires after this year with ring 7.
Yeah, well, not with ring 7, but I could. I don't know. I don't.
You
think
said
he
hot
retires.
takes.
Okay.
7 rings, he's out.
Okay.
So which are you more in on, though? That one or the Josh Gordon one?
Oh, I'll take both.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, you're real ballsy,
All right.
aren't you tonight? He
Um,
bought the big testes out tonight.
yeah. I'll go with Ron Rivera's fired.
Okay. This is our overall season one.
Yes.
See, I have a couple. We're gonna do more once, the week before the season starts.
Once we get
I'm gonna
Chucks back.
10. I'm gonna stick with the Dolphins 10-6.
Okay.
I feel like we should all come up with 5, right? And whoever gets the most right at the end of the season gets a reward.
Well, so let's start off with 2 for the night. It will give the audience a little tease.
We'll grow them each
Yeah.
week. Okay.
So
Chucks
Kev-
will have to give all 5 when he
he'll
comes
catch
back.
up. He has plenty of time.
All right, so you're going 10-6. I'm going 10-6. You're going. Is that your 2?
Yeah, Josh Gordon plays all 16 games barring injury.
Okay.
And then with ring 7, Brady retires.
And mine is Ron Rivera. It's ironically, it both involves the South. Ron Rivera's fired, and the Saints missed the playoffs.
Okay. I'm gonna go with.
Craig says physical challenge.
I'm going with Nick Chubb leads the league in rushing yards.
Ooh, hello. How are you? Okay.
That's interesting.
Nick Chubb leads the league
Especially
in rushing
because
yards.
you know who's coming back, and
Yeah, 8 weeks.
yeah,
If homeboy's rolling though.
it is Kareem Hunt. Though.
Well, I thought about doing rushing touchdowns, but I feel like that could happen because I feel like he could pound it in the red zone. Let me hold on that one. Let me think about that one. I'm going to come up with a second one as the show goes along.
Take your time. We're here.
I wasn't expecting 2 to come out. I kind of figured we'd throw 1 out at some point.
Greg says I'm already 0 for 2. So I guess he disagrees with both of them, Mike. Honestly, I think Ron Rivera has a serious chance of getting fired.
Okay.
People at home, do you think the Carolina Panthers are making the playoffs? I personally don't. They're not moving off of Cam Newton. I like Ron Rivera. But again, that organization, they're going to be going now 3 years without making the playoffs. When situations like that happen, things change. I think Ron Rivera could be fired.
I'm sticking with it. Nick Chubb will lead the league in rushing yards.
All right.
At the end of the season.
All
Who
right.
do you have winning that division if the Saints miss the playoffs and the Panthers don't win it?
Absolutely, the Atlanta Falcons. They got shredded with injuries. Their roster's really good. It's just we didn't see half of the guys last year. It's absolutely the Falcons are going to be a really good football team. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they're going to be up there.
Yeah.
I could see them as a wild card team. I still have the Saints winning that division personally, and I've never been a fan of Matty Ice, but so.
Now, is anybody concerned with the report that was on today that the Ravens defense in the practice stifled the Wentz and the Eagles offense?
No.
It's practice.
You know why it doesn't matter, Chrome? It's because you know what we all know the temperature out there, okay?
Sure.
It goes twofold. When it's extremely hot and when it's extremely cold. What position group does that favor? Offense or defense? Defense, right? Because everyone's running a little bit slower. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that's the reason why we struggled. The Ravens defense is very good. But no, it's training camp.
I agree. Couple of them on here real quick, and then we're going to definitely get over to the YouTube.
Okay.
Just from us putting them out there. So Bill said the NFL won't even test him, talking about Josh Gordon. Guaranteed NESN, which is solely Boston sports related, even said the whole thing is shady, talking about Josh Gordon. And has to do with the commissioner trying to look good because it's almost his time to go. Interesting. Andy drops in, have a great show. Greg says he'll take the physical challenge. Brinkman says, as long as one of the 10 wins isn't against the Eagles, God bless. Talking about my 10-6 Dolphins. I'm not picking them to win the division, though. I'm picking them to get the wild card.
So you have the Jets winning the division.
Yes. The Patriots will not make the playoffs. No, I'm kidding. Bill says, hot take, Patriots won't be a number 1 seed and will not be in this year's Super Bowl. A lot of good AFC teams this year, to name a few. The Colts, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Browns. A lot of the Steelers.
Yeah, I would need the Browns over those 3, personally.
The Browns or the Steelers. The Chiefs I like still.
Well, Colts, you have
I still like the Chargers, man.
Colts, you have
With
the luck
Melvin
issue.
Gordon.
Right.
Right.
Colts, you have luck at being hurt. Melvin Gordon's holding out to this point, and the Chiefs, you don't know how that dynamic is going to work on the offense with no Kareem Hunt and with the Hill issue still. They haven't really said what they're going to do yet on it.
That defense is going to stink.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, it wasn't good last year, but now they lost pieces.
See, that's the issue is when you have an offense that puts up 30 points a game over, other good teams that are just straight out shootout.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily matter, but now it matters.
Yeah.
You can get over to the YouTube now.
Sure.
What's up, YouTube fam? Appreciate
YouTube
you
fam, Nikki Stees, he was in early. He was ready to go. And then
What's
we had
up,
Jay
Nikki?
Hot saying, yo, yo. Bryce Blackwell saying, yo. Sheldon Brown saying, what's up. Jay Hot said, these athletes, I think he's talking about the breaking news story involving the MLB players earlier.
Okay.
Jay Hot was saying, these athletes get some damn money and fame, and they think they want to be thugs all of a sudden. Sheldon Brown says, Josh McCown, good signing and solidifies the backup spot. No need for him to work on technique and footwork. He's a seasoned vet, just has to learn the playbook and language in accordance with the offense. Agreed. And I hope we never see him ever, except for preseason.
No issues with any of that.
Oh, no, I'm wrong. I hope we see him week 17 when the starters take the week off. That's when I hope we see him.
Yeah.
And then Sheldon Brown giving the thumbs up. And then Jay Hot was saying, Sheldon, how's Lito doing, brah? But let me ask you guys, all right? with this Josh McCown thing, we were going over the list last week of the available quarterbacks, and we had said, okay, well, the best option was either Brock Osweiler and maybe Josh McCown, but we had said, well, Josh McCown's retired. If they were going to sign anybody, are you okay with this?
Yes. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
We went through the list last week, but again, it's the backup quarterback position, and I don't care what anybody says, we will not win if we get down to having to have the backup quarterback. And honestly, regardless, if we have even a shot of it, and I know people are going to think I'm crazy for saying it, Sudfeld to me is the only guy that would have an outside shot to at least get us a win or two in the playoffs. I think he's decent enough. He's been on the team long enough to learn the offense. McCown is not a guy that's going to win us playoff games.
Not only that,
Cody Kessler was not a guy who was going to win us playoff games.
Be able to win us a
Brock
series.
Osweiler was not going to be a guy who was going to win us playoff games.
No.
There's nobody on that list. So if we're looking at I anticipate he's going to be back anyway, and Sudfeld will probably end up being the number 2 guy, and that'll move McCown down into number 3. That would be my expectation. So it's not going to be a major issue early in the season. It's a backup quarterback. And I know because it's Carson Wentz, we want to go, oh, this and that. But it is what it is. Carson Wentz is that special talent. He's your quarterback of the team. You're not going anywhere if he gets hurt. So am I going to get up in arms at whoever the hell is back there throwing the football, honestly? I'm good.
Well, I'll ask you this, okay? And I'm only bringing this up because hopefully this never comes to it.
And real quick, too, before you do that.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned either because you're not seeing the true offensive line either that is going to protect these guys. So when Carson, there's people who are saying, oh, man, this is our stigma. Now Carson's going to end up getting hurt. Like stupid stuff like that. Because they're like, oh, this is the life of being an Eagles fan. We cashed in all our chips 2 years ago, and now we have to suffer. Like, you're going to be fine. You're not even seeing your starting rotation at the offensive line. I mean, a couple guys like Andre Dillard and stuff are going to get some spots, but it's nothing to get worked up over.
For me, it was a pure camp play because if you look at the quarterback situation overall, you're not taking more than 3 in either way. So Sudfeld, more likely than not, comes back healthy and ready to go 100% on the wrist week 2 at the latest. Then you've got Cody Kessler, who only had a concussion, comes back about the same time. Granted, not great overall anyway.
And honestly, the Cody Kessler injury and guys getting hurt is never a blessing.
Mm-mm.
But I definitely think the Eagles saw what it was on the football field and were like, yeah, this isn't going to fly. We have to go out and get somebody.
Then you've got Thornton at 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got –
he looked okay.
You got your 2 middle – that's where I'm going with it. You got your 2 middle guys.
Like, I have no
hurt.
problem with him being your 4. I mean, if we're getting down to the 4th string, we got a freaking problem.
Guys that I never want to see ever, yeah, that's fine. I'll get Ralph to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that's why I think they go out and get –
I kind of want to see that, though.
Yeah, fine.
I think that's why they go out and get McCown, though, because if your 2 middle guys are out, Wentz hasn't played yet in the preseason, most likely plays a quarter, a half at most, and then you've got the whole 4th game and the second half of the 3rd game where you would just have Thornton throwing passes, a 4th stringer with some of your first team and second team guys that are trying to make the team. What are you really going to see out of them? You know, if you're looking for, bubble guys to make plays, can you really do that with a guy that you don't see making the team anyway?
Mm-hmm.
So you sign a veteran, Kessler doesn't make the team, and you rock with just McCown and Studfeld, as you like to call
I mean,
him.
the guy's a veteran. And honestly, at this point, you just want a guy that can come in and has experience leading offenses with moderate success. That's all you're going to really need. Because in the end, he's going to be your 3rd string. So it's not a huge deal. I think people are looking at it like, this is Carson's backup. He's his backup to start the year. He's not going to be the official backup once Sudfeld's back.
You got to read some of Brinkman's going on.
I was about to get to them.
Some of them are
Brinkman
phenomenal.
has some really – and Brinkman, props to you. I love it, brother. He's dropping in some really great hot takes that I like. So first hot take alert. Antonio Brown finds a helmet he likes and leads the league in reception yards and receiving touchdowns.
The first part of that's the hot take. Him
Yeah.
finding a helmet that he likes.
Yeah, I could see I love it.
It's
I love how he
disaster.
filed a second grievance, but he wore the required helmet.
2 days after he said he's ready to go. It's like, clearly you're not.
Paul T. Brown says, "Go Birds." Bill says, "Kev, I'm not busting your balls, my man, but you needed flash. After that, not too many elite players. Brady's age, no Gronk in Miami, Bills, and the Jets all improved. I see you winning the division, but no Super Bowl, my friend." Don't be nice to him, Bill.
Yeah, don't pander to him.
I'm not saying that not having Josh doesn't help, because it definitely does.
I mean, Gronk not
Especially-
being there is going to be tough.
For now.
But I see the dynamic changing heavy. I see them running a Shane Vereen dual running back-esque type playbook versus. I mean, they won 18 games with him.
Again,
So-
you guys always win 18 games with people.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
I
they
mean,
might.
what is
They
it?
could probably win with me as like a left tackle.
I see them running a lot of having a very, very slotty team, having the middle filled up.
Slutty team.
And my favorite.
My brain processed as a slutty team there, but
That's why you heard a little giggle over here.
I'm gonna tell you, that's where my brain goes though first. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think it's gonna be as much of a cakewalk as you think it's gonna be. Paul T. Brown says, "Did you hear what Carter said? We got nothing to worry about." Prinkman says, "Hot take alert. Marlon Mack leads the league in rushing yards."
Jesus.
That is a hot take.
What happened to all the other running backs? What happened to all the other ones?
Paul T. Brown, Carson's fine. We have a great offensive line now. Brinkman, hot take alert. Nick Foles falls flat on his face and finishes 5-11.
Is that a hot take?
I'm not going to say that he falls flat on his face, but I do not believe he's going to be the 16-game starting quarterback that he's getting paid to be.
Quick question to you guys in the fam. Does Nick Foles play a full season? He hasn't before.
No, I think I don't want to say it because I don't wish it on him.
We're being honest.
I
He
think
has
he
a
does.
propensity to get hurt. I don't know if he physically makes it through a season. I don't think he's going to get benched at any point. If he can stay healthy, yes. But I
see it the other way around. I think he plays 16, and if he doesn't, it's because he's benched.
What? Do you know who their backups are?
Paul T. Brown
We're
says,
signing guys like McCown. I'm sure they can find somebody.
I don't think they can.
Paul says, "Why are you hating on Foles?" I think he was talking to Brankman. I don't think it's hating on Foles. I think it's a realistic.
It's just a prediction.
It's a realistic expectation. I mean, listen, we don't have to blow Nick Foles for the rest of our lives. He's going to get that every time he comes to Philadelphia. I mean, the guy's a god again because he said, "I'm leaving 9 in Philly." And it's like, oh, like he's a god. We understand that. But reality is reality, and his career track record does not say he's going to go out there and win 11 games.
No.
I don't think that's a terrible thing for Brinkman to say at all. Hot take alert again from Brinkman. The Redskins go 0-16.
You know, I said last week on the show that I could see them being the worst team
In the
in the
division.
league.
In the
No,
league?
Yeah. Just given how they have Colt McCoy as the week 1 starter, but then he got hurt, and then it's like Case Keenum, and then Dwayne Haskins is going to be forced to come in. He's not ready. I mean, if that happens, 0-16. That's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be phenomenal. I don't count on it.
Yeah. They do have guys back this year, though.
I almost think it's
and
impossible.
I really like him.
I almost think it's impossible for them to go 0-16 because they do play the Giants twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do see the Giants.
I
being
could
worse
see
for
them. I could see them going 4-12.
Yeah, like I have them going like around 4 or 5 wins.
Paul thinks that the Redskins are going to be better than the Cowgirls.
How?
I can't agree with that one, Paul.
Do both Dak and Zeke hold out
What
for that
happened?
to happen?
Dak, Zeke, and Amari would have to hold out, and they would have to go out and sign Josh Johnson to be their starting quarterback for that to happen. I don't.
Whoa.
And Donnell Pumphrey as their starting running back. I don't think that's going to happen.
A
Nick-
Cowboy did get paid, and it just wasn't any of those 3 that you named.
Nikki Stees over on the YouTube says, people are overrating Foles as a Jaguar. People forget all the weapons Foles had in Philly that he does not have in Jacksonville. And Bryce said, yeah, Nick will play 13 games, not 16 games.
Okay.
And again, we're not taking shots at Nick, but we all know, we said it during the Super Bowl run. Nick Foles is what is around him. He is a product of his environment. That's what it is.
Agreed. Never had success outside of Philadelphia.
No, and he probably never will.
Bill says, agree, and Nelson is the bait. Don't need him. Paul has the division as the Eagles, Skins, Cowboys, and Giants finishing last.
Listen, I disagree, but all that counts is that he has Eagles number 1.
Yeah, I agree. That's something we can all agree on.
Yeah.
Bill says, no, Cowboys will be a wild card team at 10-6, second place. I think they're going to win at least 10 games. The Cowboys.
Oh, they're a very good football team.
I think
They're a very good football
I
team.
could see them being 10-6, second place in division in a wild card easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got them. Same place.
Yeah. Paul says, yeah, glad we didn't get him. Talking about Antonio Brown. Brinkman says, rounding out my 5 hot takes, the Giants win more games than Dallas if Zeke remains absent.
That's possible.
I could see that. Paul says, talking about Foles, he'll always be a great backup. He says, I don't think they should have put a statue up of Foles, though it should have been Howie Roseman. The thing is, the statue, and he will always have that statue, it signifies a moment, not necessarily the player. And I've had people say, well, do you think because he's not here they should take the statue down, which is typical Philadelphia. No, he deserves to be immortalized because he was a key figure in that moment.
Yep.
But that statue signifies a moment in time, an iconic moment in Super Bowl history. So, no, that statue should if there was anything they were going to put up, I thought that was the best choice they could have made.
Well,
Howie may one day get his statue.
Yeah.
They win a second Super Bowl. Howie's getting a statue at the link.
Listen,
I would tell there will be a petition to make that happen.
there are 2 guys ahead of Howie Roseman, at least in my opinion, in line that should, and I hope, get a statue before Howie, and that's Doug and that's Mr. Wentz. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Those 2 are first. Then we'll worry about Howie.
Brinkman says, not a Giants fan, which we know, but maybe some of the fan knows. But I think they're being underrated. The defense can't be worse. That's true. And the line has improved slightly. I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were last year. I think the bottom 2 teams in the division are going to compete a little bit more than what you saw. I mean, it was a 2-horse race last year for the most. Once Alex Smith went down.
Yeah.
It was a 2-horse race. There was no doubts. I could see the bottom 2 maybe make a push to just put a little pressure on whoever's going to be in the number 2 spot. But I think the Skins and the Giants are going to be a little bit better than what we saw last year. Brinkman asks, when are the Eagles getting Clowney? I don't know. I don't know if I'm not 100% sold that they're going to get him. I'd love to have him, but does anybody think that they're going to get Clowney?
No.
I don't think so.
No?
I think if anything was to happen, it would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that, at this point they go after him.
Mm-hmm.
Although this signing the Eagles made with that kid from the Army, that lineman, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I look at that and I think my initial reaction was, okay, but we have plenty of linemen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you tie it to the rumors of Vitae being on the trading kind of market, the Texans being in the market for a left tackle, the fact that Vitae would start on the Texans. I'm not saying Vitae's great, but the Texans line stinks. I'm thinking to myself,
he's
interesting.
He is a definitive upgrade over what they have in place right now.
Yeah.
I think 100%.
So,
Agreed.
and I know Rob really wants him. I would, listen, if he shows up to our doorstep tomorrow with an Eagles uniform on, I'm not upset. I'm happy. It's just I don't know if they're going to be able to get it done because, as we know, Bill O'Brien does not want to trade him. And I know he's only the coach. He's not the GM or the owner, but he has pull in that organization.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the issue is what do you have to give up to get Clowney? I think that
Probably, Vitae in a first-round pick.
I don't think that's going to be enough. To me, what I think they would have to do is Vaitai, Nelson, and like a third rounder. Because you have to say, okay, well, because Nelson would start as a wide receiver there because the second or third best wide receiver is DeAndre Carter, who used to be on our team.
Yeah.
So they need help there.
That's a nice weapon to add with DeAndre Hopkins for Deshaun Watson too.
And it's a way to get that deal done.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And you could say that's a lot. But again, if you're trying to get somebody like Clowney, he's very good.
I don't think it's a lot because I'm sticking by what I said. Nelson will not be back on this football team next year.
Is that your second bold prediction?
I agree with you there. Yeah, we're both on the same page.
That's like a prediction for next year, though.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
But I do not think Nelson will be back on this football team.
Oh, it's up to you.
No, especially with J. Joe.
No. Here we go. Bill Middlebrooks, bold prediction. And I'm just going to tell you, Bill, I love you, but you're out of your freaking mind.
I haven't read this yet.
He says, you want a real big hot take, and big hot take is in all caps.
Okay, I see it.
Barkley gets frustrated so bad this year and beat up because the team's loading the box because there's nobody spreading the field. He will be in Dallas next year. And he says, screenshot talk, Barkley wearing the star next year. No friggin' way.
I don't think that happens.
No way. Anybody? What do you think?
No.
Nothing. He's like,
no.
I
love you, Bill.
I love the hot takes. Though.
Oh, I love the creativity.
I love when people bring in hot takes.
There's a better chance that LaShawn McCoy is in Dallas. I'm not making that my hot take because I don't want that on record, okay? But I'm just saying. We've heard for how many years, Chrome, that Shady's on the way out? Well, if this thing with Zeke falls through, LaShawn McCoy, apparently there's rumors that he might not be playing week 1. Like, he might be out of there by week 1, which I'm like, what the hell's going on up there? Say, for example, Zeke holds out. They know this. Shady McCoy, hey, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't see him in Dallas because if I'm Dallas, I pay Zeke over Dak.
Oh, I mean,
The smart play.
I don't know. They allowed this to get way out of hand. They got some problems. They got a lot of problems. I mean, we talked about it a lot last week. We don't need to rehash that conversation. You can check it out on the A2D archives on YouTube and Facebook. But there's a big part of me that agrees because I'm not a Dak guy. But at the same time, I think Dak is a good enough quarterback that he's better than a lot of quarterbacks in the league.
My issue
and
is,
I just don't know that you want to build the team without having a clear-cut replacement at quarterback. It's easier to replace a running back than it is to replace a quarterback, in my opinion, particularly on free agency. You have to draft a quarterback and develop a quarterback. But as opposed to running backs these quarterbacks seem to typically stay through their prime with their teams, as opposed to a running back can get disgruntled and can force a move. You don't see that stuff with quarterbacks. Can you recall any quarterback that forced an organization to move them? No, because the team is built around the quarterback.
Well, I have to throw in this is different, so I'm joking.
Yeah.
The Eli Manning draft.
that was
Yeah, I'm like, if we
head.
want to be real.
Yeah.
I know. But
See, my issue
But
is
I get what you're saying. I completely understand.
it's as not overwhelmed as we are by Dak. I still feel like he's tougher to replace. Yeah, you're gonna get your hand held. You keep putting it on my hand thing here. He's tougher to replace than to get at least a reasonable amount of the similar production in Zeke's position.
I disagree. I think there's 10 Daks out there, similar play style, that you can go out and get.
I don't know.
Veteran guys that are bouncing around. You can go out and get a guy like a Jimmy G. Go find a guy that teams have up and coming that are getting rid of players.
Jimmy G's making a lot of money right now in San Francisco, brother.
But here's the thing.
He's not making 45
and
40.
This is an old, quote unquote older contract. The 49ers can get out of that deal very quickly now that they're a handful of years into it. So Jimmy G especially, and I know it's just preseason, but he looks like he's struggling.
Yeah.
Listen, that's actually an interesting name for like the far future if things really go crazy here.
Bill says Jerry will have the money then and will pay for Barkley. We Eagles fans don't want to see it, but the great players hold out all the time. They'd have to tag him. Elliott lit a fuse under Jerry's ass. Wait, Elliott who? There's a big difference, and I'm not saying that down the road, but this dude with years left on his contract, Saquon Barkley, is not holding out.
A bigger take would put Melvin Gordon in Dallas.
I could buy that.
We've talked. Yeah, that makes sense.
That one I could buy.
The timeline.
Yeah, I could definitely buy that. And again, it's not common for guys with multiple years left on their rookie deal. And unlike the Le'Veon Bell thing, I think Zeke's going to be a man on his own island by doing this. Saquon, to me, is not that guy who is going to go out with 2 or 3 years left on his deal and say, I'm out. Say it. You ever move me.
Dion says, sounds crazy, but I can see Zeke playing for another NFC team in the near future, maybe Washington. We all know Snyder has no problem dishing out cash for stars. Thoughts?
Saying Zeke?
Yeah.
If he doesn't stay in Dallas, I could see him being a guy with a chip on his shoulder and wanting to stay in the division, too, to stick it up Jerry's ass.
It could be like the DeMarco Murray thing.
Yep, I could see it. Sure.
I could see it, but I think that
I don't think it's likely. I think in the end he's going to end up staying in Dallas. But
I was going to lean that same way. I could see it happening, but it's highly unlikely, especially where in Washington you already have a stable of guys that they've been trying to build a Geis up and different players like that. So
Brinkman says, who's better, Mariota or Dak, or is there a difference?
See, I know where he's going with this. He's going back to where – remember when I was talking about my big-time conspiracy theory on how they can make a trade, Tennessee, Dak going to Tennessee, Mariota going for the contract thing? Well, who's better, though? And this is injuries included. We're not going to do the Chucks thing where we just take injuries out.
That's where I was going to lean. I say
the injuries coming anyway. I would take Dak over Mariota.
Dak, he's there.
I would definitely take Dak over Mariota. I don't think it's a question.
And I'm formerly known as a Mariota guy.
I'm not a big Mariota guy. I
I'm
don't think
not
I ever
now. I
really
can't be.
have been.
Tannehill apparently has a good shot of replacing him. Do you hear that?
I doesn't shock me. I have been on the Tannehill, if he could stay healthy, is better than a lot of starting quarterbacks in this league bandwagon.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking with it, Ryan. I'm not jumping off that bandwagon because he's not wearing the Dolphin teal anymore. I'm riding with it. He should be. Not only could he should be the starting quarterback on that football team if he's healthy.
Well, but you added the final couple words.
Well, you have to. But at the same time, we could say if Mariota could stay healthy, because that dude can never stay healthy either.
No. I mean
they have
you're not
two
wrong.
quarterbacks that neither could stay healthy.
Well, welcome to Tennessee.
Good Lord.
That's why you go and you trade for Dak Prescott. Honestly.
Yeah.
Him with Derrick Henry? What's the difference?
Jerry loves Dak, though. He ain't going nowhere.
Dak.
He ain't getting 40.
Thank you, Kevin. I was just going to say that. Good. He already said?
Yeah. He loves him. Yes, he does.
Dak who?
He loves him.
Dak who?
He loves him.
It was
Mark
Zeke
my
who,
words. Yeah, it was Zeke. It was Zeke.
Yeah.
Bill says, or not, sorry, Paul T. Brown wants to know, what's your take on L.J. Scott and his future with the Birds? Anybody have a take? What?
Who?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll get back to
Maybe I'm uneducated and I don't know who L.J. Scott is.
I don't want to give you a non-answer. I'll get back to you. I'll look.
Brodo's going to do his research. We're going to let Brodo answer that question.
Let's see, L.J. Scott.
Jake Friel says, what's up, boys? After signing Jalen Smith, the Cowboys made this situation so much worse for themselves. Hate to say it. Hate to say it.
Michigan State running back L.J. Scott draft profile and Eagles fit.
So
Was he like an unsigned rookie?
I think so.
Oh,
okay. Is he talking about L.J. Fort? Dion said L.J. Fort. If it's L.J. Fort, I know who L.J. Fort is. Oh, okay, star running back. Okay, so it's not L.J. Fort.
No, because he said in here he's from Michigan. Paul's original thing I'm seeing here, he said, having been living in Michigan for the last 10 years, it's nice to see his boy LJ Scott playing for the Birds. What's your take on his future
So
as
we
an
have
Eagle?
two Scotts now? Boston Scott. We have LJ Scott.
Yes, a lot of Scotts
Well,
going on.
I'll tell you this, all right?
Well, listen,
Paul?
none of them are the GOAT, though. Mike Scott in this town is the GOAT.
Amen.
Mike
Amen.
freaking Scott.
Paul, I
The
hate.
Hive, baby.
I'll just tell you this.
Practice squad, maybe?
It's if it's a running back on our roster, when we have the running back core that's pretty much already solidified, I mean, if he's on the team, maybe practice squad. I don't know. I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't really know a lot about him, so, I mean, we'll look it up. I hope you come back, and maybe we'll talk about him next week or something. But
I think they're already too deep there to.
yeah, I mean, you're looking at a depth chart where guys who have been established on this team are already on the fringe.
Wendell Smallwood's probably going to be out. Josh Adams is probably going to be out.
Pumphrey makes it in.
Yeah, Pumphrey stinks.
I'll take LJ Scott over Donnell Pumphrey.
See, yeah, that's what I thought. Deion said, "Oh no, Boston Scott is the only Scott on this current roster." Because I was going to say, like, I think and Ralph says, "Hold up, we got LJ Scott." I don't. He played in the last preseason game.
We'll have to. You know what? When we take our break, and I'll look up the stats on LJ Scott.
What time are we going until, by the way?
I don't know. We'll just roll with
figured
it.
we
We
were
got
close.
fantasy coming on the other side.
I was going to say, if you're only going to 10, don't even worry about a break. Unless you want one.
Unless you want me to pee on the air.
Okay, all right. All good, Paul. He says, yeah, sorry, guys. All good. All good.
Who was it?
Paul, he was saying, so I guess he realized he's not on the team. Oh, so you know what probably happened? Paul was probably watching the Eagles, and he saw Scott.
And he thought, okay, yeah, no, it's Boston.
No, I
Scott.
understand. I understand, Paul.
Nah, yeah, you're good.
You making us happy because we thought we were doing our jobs bad.
I was like, who the hell is LJ
I'm
Scott?
like, wait a second. Shame on me. I don't know if LJ Scott's on the Eagles.
He said, yeah, it's Boston Scott.
And Ralph's not happy.
Yeah, I just looked up LJ Scott here, and he was a Cleveland Brown, went as a undrafted free agent, and may be leaving football altogether.
What is Ralph talking about?
Probably because Ralph's Mr. Michigan State. And if the guy's from
You
Michigan.
don't want to Chrome? He said FLJ Scott. You don't want to Chrome. I don't know what that means, Ralph.
English, Ralph.
Make some sense, you crumb.
English.
Well, we'll keep an eye on LJ Scott and see if he shows up in the league. I don't know. Oh, that's right, Ralph.
Oh, here we go.
LJ Scott is injury prone and fumbles way too much. So, Ralph, we needed you on here, you crumb, so you could have decoded this for us.
I appreciate Ralph for giving some insight. I'm looking at him like, wait a second.
Are we surprised that Ralph's the only one who knows who he is, though?
I'm very surprised.
Actually, yeah,
Ralph
maybe you're
knows
right.
something
Well,
that
it's
we
because that's who he likes. All right. So anyway,
That was the Twilight Zone right
we're
there.
gonna get ready. We're gonna take our break because we said we were gonna go a little over 10 o'clock anyway.
Okay.
We're gonna take our break. We're gonna come back. We can continue to talk about this, but we want to get into fantasy football. We only got to touch on it last week. I know we wanted to have a little bit more of a talk on that. So we'll continue to talk about the Eagles. We'll talk fantasy football. We'll get in a quick No Huddle segment, and we'll just roll with it. Roll with the fam. If you're over on the Twitter, the Instagram, Periscope, get over to the Facebook, get over to the YouTube. Let's go.
Paul says, wait a second. He might still have another year in college.
I love it. Good stuff. Well, stick with us, Paul, and everybody over on the Facebook chat and everybody in the YouTube chat. Again, other side, we're going to be coming at you. First half brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, by Specialized Physical Therapy, and Scanzano Sports. So we'll see you in a couple. What up, fam? We are back, Birds of a Feather, from the Real Talk Studios on A2DRadio.com, brought to you by Gibson Mayer, LLC, our certified public accountants, and make them yours, GibsonMayer.com, as well as Specialized Physical Therapy. Again, find them in Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton, New Jersey. Find them on the web, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Scanzano Sports, topic of conversation. We touched a lot on in the first half. The Eagles' quarterback situation is being overblown. Agree, disagree. So, what is he saying? Something about Madden? Someone play me in Madden.
Yeah, he wants somebody to join him.
Jesus,
He's lonely.
Ralphie. All right. So we're going to get into fantasy football talk. So I think we touched on it last week, and you'll probably hear us talk about it throughout the season because we're doing a little amongst the studio. We're going to do a fantasy football league, some bragging rights, whatnot. We may get a trophy so we can brag about it. So the original idea was to have a little pool party at Casa de Chromiak, and then we decided we're going to do an online draft. Now, no options were eliminated from the original plan, but we did inform Ralphie that it wasn't going to be a totally in-person because some people weren't going to make it. So Ralphie's instant reaction was quite interesting, and this is with Ralphie's permission. This is the clip that we got from Ralphie in response to the, hey, just so you know, it's going to be an online draft.
Oh, so we're not doing it at the house? We're doing it online? Oh, my God, dude. I don't even know if I even want to do it, man. Are you serious? I thought it was going to be a nice party. We swim in the pool. We do the draft. I go home happy because I get to eat food and swim in a pool. Now you're telling me I have to stay home and do it online? Fuck that.
I love Ralphie so much. I really do. And I love when the voice goes up an octave, too. Listen, so for the gentlemen who are in the league, we're not eliminating the fact that if you want to come to my house on Sunday and go swimming for the day and we could barbecue, you could still do that. We could do the draft online on the Wi-Fi hanging out together, but the draft is actually going to be online because not everybody can make it. So, Ralphie, all those things that you want to do, buddy, the gift that keeps on giving, your boy Chrome, I got you. You're still invited over on Sunday.
Frank says Ralph is a soundbite machine.
No, I love it. He really is, Ralph. You are the best, man. I love it.
He says we got to have it at your house.
And that is what's going to happen. So if anyone who's going to be around, the group of guys that are in it, you are invited over.
I think we should purposely structure it, though, behind the scenes to where only Ralph shows up. And it's just Chrome and Ralph.
Oh, God.
Chrome and the
Chrome and the Crumb.
Hey, Chrome, I'm here.
Live draft reaction video. Oh.
Where's the cheesesteaks?
Ralph, you're still invited, buddy. So it's not off. He says, yo, let's go. I'm in. I'm down. It's in. So we'll share those details
He
off.
wants you to
the air.
put the address in the chat. So send the address.
I will send it to you, not in the chat, though. So
We will meet at a neutral location.
I'm going to send him like a random, it's like some open field. With like a kiddie pool set up, like a blow-up kiddie pool.
Send them to my neck of the woods. There's a lot of open fields where I'm at.
No, we're good, Ralphie. That's still on the table. So we will have that discussion off air.
He says, I'm fine with that. More food for me.
We got it, buddy. I got you. Fantasy football talk, guys. So Well, we're probably going to touch on this. We got a lot. We kind of touched on it last week, but we got a lot of drafts that are going to be coming up, particularly now, starting now at the end of the week up until the season starts. So about the next week and a half, 2 weeks, you're going to see real draft heavy for a lot of you fantasy football fanatics out there. So I don't want to have the typical, like, who are you going to draft first and this and that. There's a couple other interesting questions I think that are really good to throw out. So for one thing, in your opinion, like, let's talk, what do we got? 742 Evergreen Terrace. I love it. I love it. So for one thing, what is considered reaching too early for a tight end in your opinion? Do you have a round that's set? What is your strategy around drafting tight ends? Now, obviously, Gronk is off the board. Gronk is typically that exception to the rule. Maybe Zach Ertz could be that guy this year who people will draft a little bit earlier. So I'm taking like them top two guys out.
Right.
When you start seeing, okay, the top two guys are going, now I'm going to sit back and wait on a tight end, how deep do you let it go?
So for me, we were talking about this earlier. When do you take guys? For me, I normally only do PPR.
Me too.
So I'm looking at round 1 running back, round 2 receiver. Depending on position, if I'm at a later third round pick and it's or a mid round where I have a long ways to go, Ertz, Kittle, and Kelsey, I will touch in the third round. Any other tight end, I'm waiting till fifth, sixth round.
So you draft that high for your tight ends?
For those 3 specifically, I'm looking at guys.
No, I'm taking those guys out. I'm saying you go as
Fifth,
high
sixth,
as
yeah.
5th or 6th round?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Because you
See,
figure,
I feel like it's a reach.
because you figure 5th, 6th. If I'm looking at the 6th round, in the 6th round, I will already have 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and my quarterback. Those are my top 5. If I go with a 6th, my 6th round would be my tight end.
See, I look at it differently because I feel like if you get outside of those 3, there's not a huge dip off between the guy that you might take in the 5th or 6th round and the guy that you wait until to the 8th or 9th round to take. So unless people panic and start jumping all over the tight ends, and honestly, then at that point, it's a feel for me. Because if I'm seeing names sitting on the board because people are panicking and taking tight ends, I'll beef up on everything else. I'll find a suitable tight end to fill spots.
Yeah.
But if I can then look at my flex positions and start filling that stuff and beefing that up more than other guys are doing because they're panicking, that's more my thing. I'm typically 8th or 9th round, maybe 7th if my team is filling out nicely. But I typically don't do a tight end beyond or any earlier than the 7th round.
I look at it this way: is I know that outside of your top 3 guys, you're not going to get heavy touchdowns out of your tight ends normally. But in a PPR, most teams have their tight end as their check down. So you're looking at like a Jared Cook who can have 10 receptions in a game, 8 to 10, which for me, that's all I need out of my tight end. And I'd rather have that than take a flyer on like an Ebron who I could see get 10, 12, 15 points a game, but for 3 weeks, the next 3 weeks, get 2 points. And I'd rather solidify a middle ground guy than have to wait to take a flyer like that.
Maybe, or I can go and because everybody's running on the tight ends, I can worry about the 10 points not being consistent every week, or I can go and grab a guy that's getting me 18 or 19 points in my flex position every week and let everybody worry about those couple points where, instead of the guy who would get me 10 or 11 every week, he's getting me 7.
Yeah, I'm loading up. I don't touch the tight ends for a long time, to be honest. Because, like, for example, and Dion mentioned this name, and it's ironic that you brought up the name, like Eric Ebron, for example. I had Eric Ebron on my team the entire year.
I picked him up last year. He wasn't even drafted.
You know what? I was the same way because I had Delaney Walker last year, but he got hurt like week 2.
Who looks good,
Same
by the
with
way.
me. I had
coming
Delaney
back.
Walker.
What was that?
I said who looks good, by the way.
He
coming
does.
back.
Delaney Walker?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the only guy that Mariota can throw to, by the way. It's just him. That's it. But I look at a guy like that, and you could say, oh, well, but they have Jack Doyle. They already have. But they make it work, especially because Jack Doyle misses like 5 weeks out of the year anyway. I look at a guy like him, and he was a red zone monster all the time, and that's where all of his points were. He might only be getting 5, 6, 7 catches, if that, but he'd have 2 touchdowns every time, every single time. So to me, and 2 years ago when I won the championship, I was switching tight ends like every couple weeks. It was all about matchup. And I know it's harder to do in a 12-team league, as opposed to a 10-team league. But to me, I'm loading up on running backs, wide receivers, because at the end of the day, you can't have too many of them.
Correct.
Due to injury, matchup, whatever. You can have a million of those, especially like when you talk about the flex position. You can use either one of them. So to me, I'm going full throttle with those two positions for a long time before I worry about anything else.
These guys are claiming draft spots already. Ralph said, very happy the pool party is back on.
I could tell.
And he said, I don't want the first pick. Give me the 5th or 6th. We'll see how it shakes out for you, buddy.
I can't wait.
But the pool party's back on, and that's what's exciting.
See, my issue is that every year there always seems to be a James Conner out there.
Yeah.
Where a guy that is put up very consistent numbers, probably top 5, 10 fantasy numbers last season, where in most leagues either A, went undrafted because for who knows what reason that they hoped Le'Veon was coming back, or went round 14, 15 on the low end as a maybe guy if they had Le'Veon too.
Mm-hmm.
When we start to look at guys like Eckler with Melvin Gordon not signed in yet, to me, I take those guys in the 8, 9, 10 rounds.
Take a flyer on them. Why not?
Where it allows me to take my tight end higher.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you guys see Gordon and guys like that going this year? Gordon, Dak, Zeke, guys that are coming in, either holding out, not practicing yet. You can throw suspended guys in that group like Hunt.
Well, see, this is just me, and I know it's probably the wrong answer, so do not follow this, ladies and gentlemen. Unless you're playing in my league, which if I'm giving you bad advice, please take it, because I'm going up against you every year. But I was burned by the Le'Veon Bell thing. I don't touch Zeke.
I wasn't. I was not touching Le'Veon Bell last year.
Neither did I. I
Not
saw
even
him
close.
go number 2 overall last year.
Yeah, Jake, we're doing a snake draft. He says, hopefully we're doing a snake draft. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting with that too. For do you do any keeper leagues?
And I do not. No.
Okay. Because I'm always intrigued. So if anybody in there, I want to hear what you guys feel. Keeper leagues, draft and stash type of guys. Is there anybody you have your eyes on? I mean, I'm looking at and draft and stash is essentially, guys you want to take in late rounds. That's how I build. Honestly, when I do fantasy, all my leagues except for this one are keeper leagues. And the reason that I do really well is because I do really well with the draft and stash. I've had David Johnson since he was a rookie. I got him in like the 13th round or 14th round. I have Adam Thielen. I lost an 8th round pick this year. I have Nick Chubb. I think I lost like an 11th round pick, something along those lines.
So you're talking later round picks, correct? Like
Right.
Not necessarily a draft and stash, because you can see them doing something this year.
Could do something this year, but just in case they don't, because maybe there's somebody ahead of them, who's a draft and stash, 1 or 2 candidates that you're looking at, guys. I mean, I can think of 2 on the Eagles alone.
Yeah,
But draft and stash type of guys that, okay, maybe they don't make the impact this year. I draft and stash Carson Wentz. And then he ended up taking the job before preseason, and then I eventually traded him to Chucks. But
Debo Samuel.
Debo is
And
one.
I'm not saying that because it's this show and because of the infamous moment. But I'm serious. Because he can do everything.
Yeah.
He can do everything. He can be, kind of like a trick type player out of the backfield to where they're doing that same play that they give to Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you see the speed. He's a good wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He's somebody.
Debo was one I had in mind. Outside of the Eagles, with the Eagles, some people might think Miles Sanders. For me, J-Jaw. I think J-Jaw is going to be an
100%.
absolute stud.
Sanders would have been one of mine.
Yeah, I think J-Jaw will have a very, very good year this year. But I think that he's a guy that's going to exponentially jump up in the next year, like talking about next year, the following year. And those are the type of guys you might be able to get in, although it's a lot of homers around here, you may be able to grab a guy like that in the 13th, 14th round and hang on to them for keeper purposes.
Fantasy-wise, I believe that J-Jaw could have a very good season touchdowns-wise. Like, that's where all of his value will be, because I think he's going to have a good amount of touchdowns, especially for a rookie. But when you talk about sheer amount of volume of catches, I don't think he's a guy that you should rely on for that, just because there's so many more guys ahead of him in the pecking order.
And it also, when you do that, it actually helps you out. So I had Aaron Jones, and I was like
Oh my
a
God.
13th round pick.
Oh my God.
So I traded him because I wasn't going to keep him over. I ended up keeping Nick Chubb, David Johnson, and Adam Thielen. But I ended up trading him, and then I moved up like 3 or 4 rounds ahead of where I would have kept him at. And I got like an 11th round or a 10th round pick back for him. So they become a trade asset in the offseason when you have a lot of guys who could be keepers, and there are definitely guys who need beef ups on their keepers. So he was an asset for me to trade this offseason.
Another one I could think of, out of the blue is tight end T.J. Hawkinson out of Detroit. He's fallen, he's under the radar because, well, number one, he's in Detroit. Number two, I have high expectations for him this year. I think, honestly, and you could consider this a bold prediction, one of my bold predictions was that he's going to be in the mix for Offensive Rookie of the Year, which is a rarity for tight ends, but I think he's that good. He's only going to get better. I think you're going to see a lot of glimpses this year as he progresses and he gets older and more, involved in the offense. He's going to be a top tight end in the league if he stays healthy.
I think it's going to be hard for guys like us in this area because of all the homerism that goes on in fantasy.
Yep.
But if you're like, we have people in the chat who are from other places in the country. The Eagles, I guarantee you, in a lot of drafts, you'll be able to get Dallas Goedert late. Yeah. So if you have a keeper league, I had a buddy who he messaged me earlier from Indiana, and he said, "Can you send me 2 Eagles names of guys that I could draft and stash later, or guys that could be under the radar big surprises?" And I told him, 3 guys I gave him. Dallas Goedert, Nelson. Surprisingly, I gave Nelson a little bit of props.
Look at you.
And J-Jaw. I told him those are the 3 guys from this team outside of Miles. I don't know how the dynamic with Miles is going to be this year. I think we have an idea. But I don't ever feel like a Philadelphia, with Doug Peterson as coach, I don't feel like you're ever going to have a top high-end fantasy running back.
For 2 reasons.
Because of the way that they do, not a committee, but essentially it's a rotation that they do.
Yeah.
And they like to have different dynamic with each guy. And for them, it's situational. As opposed to, Le'Veon's carrying the football every time. You know that, up until what happened last year, Todd Gurley was going to carry the football almost every carry.
Yep.
Those guys are always going to be the fantasy standouts. And so when I look at running backs, like to me, Nick Chubb, before the Kareem Hunt thing, but I still think Nick Chubb is going to be the guy there. I think this is an opportunity for Kareem to come back, show a little something on the field to build his stock for somewhere else next year.
And for the second reason, too, this offense, and it drives a lot of people crazy, and we'll talk about it at some point. People will say it in the comments, and we'll be like, well, it's fine. If it's working, it's fine. They're pass first. The Eagles are pass first. They are not a run-first team. So you're not going to see as many running opportunities for anybody, let alone it being in a committee or combination or whatever you want to call it, or a rotation. This offense, when it's running at top speed, they're passing the football first.
Right.
Now, is it good to have running backs that can catch the football? Yeah, and a couple of the guys can, but a couple of the guys can't.
Right. My advice I give people who are in keeper leagues, the draft and stash is the way that you can sustain long-term success in a league. I have fantasy football is my number 2 sport, with baseball is my number 1. But I've been, and this is not a toot my own horn, the track record proves it, I've become very good at fantasy football. A lot of it is I do keeper leagues, I do PPRs, and I draft and stash. So, again, now I'm looking at a team where I have Adam Thielen, David Johnson, and Nick Chubb, and none of them are any earlier than the 8th round. And that's all guys who would be top 3 rounds, top 4 rounds.
2 names that I think that a lot of people can do a draft and stash type of deal is N'Keal Harry with the Patriots, who looks like that he's going to be, depending on how you look at the receivers, would be either 2 or 3. Obviously, Edelman's out of the slot, which most people lend 3 no matter what, but as far as receptions goes, he's the number 2 behind Flash Gordon, who they just got back. Another guy I'm looking at is Chris Carson in Seattle, who
I think a lot of people are on the Chris Carson bandwagon, though. I don't know if you can stash him, so to
from
speak.
what I've seen, he's been there like
Is he dropping?
yeah. But because this year there's a lot of because of the Kamara Ingram situation last year in New Orleans, there's a lot of running backs this year that people are bringing up. A lot of people are taking a Miles Sanders high because he can catch. A lot of people are taking a White and Michelle on the same team out of the Patriots high because they can both catch, and it's crowding the backfield as far as fantasy is concerned, and making guys like a Chris Carson who could quite well be that number one overall there in Seattle very late.
So Bill, he has to get going, but he says before I log off, real quick, who do you guys see as the top 3 quarterbacks going? I guess he's saying in fantasy. Well, number 1's easy. It's Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes.
So far, I've seen Pat Mahomes
I've been
once.
very surprised by how some of the quarterbacks have dropped. Aaron Rodgers is like projected to be like a 6th-round pick.
You know, the guy who I feel, and I'm not a big.
Tom Brady has dropped down to like the 12th or 13th ranked fantasy quarterback.
Brady's always been low.
At one point.
Brady's always been low because of their.
But people take him early because they know he's going to be good. But
the
I
issue
feel like he's dropped big time this year.
The issue with Brady is that the Patriots don't commit. We always say that they're the wild card with the way that they run their offense. They can never commit to a pass or run first type team where Aaron Rodgers is looking like the number 2 behind Pat Mahomes, where you know that a team led by a pocket passer like that is going to pass the ball and you're going to get your points there. Whereas if you look at the Super Bowl or other games like it, there's been games where Brady's not thrown for a touchdown and we've still put up 21 points on a team.
Yeah, see, I think what's hurting in Brady's stock a little bit too is the fact that Gronk's not on the team this year.
I don't think people should look into that as much because of the type of receivers that they have in. Again, mentioning the fact that they've moved to a more slotty type team. They're going to go back to that fast-paced offense where a big name that I've been looking at through their camp is Jacoby Myers, who is exactly like Edelman. He was a quarterback in college turned receiver when undrafted, who has had a highlight film type preseason. You've got guys like that to where it doesn't matter if you have those hard physical guys because you're not going to have to throw deep when you're not going to have to force those deep throws like you would when if you put 4 guys to fill up Gronk's spot over the middle, you're still going to get the job done.
Top 3 quarterbacks, though. Yeah, I agree with Ryan. Pat Mahomes would be 1. Probably Russell Wilson.
See, I don't know because they're run first. They're a run-first team.
It's weird. Like, I'm going to say, assuming health, I don't see how Carson Wentz isn't a top 3 fantasy quarterback this year. It would shock me if he wasn't.
Yeah. Another one, again, if he's healthy, is Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck would be another one.
To me, you know the quarterback, and I'm not a big fan of this guy, but fantasy-wise, he has dropped and been flat-out disrespected. And if he drops in our draft, I'll happily take.
Thinking of? Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, guess.
Jared Goff.
100%.
Yep. The last 2 years, I had Jared Goff as my quarterback. Not intended to be my starter, especially last year. Jared Goff, I got him in the 15th round both years. Last year, he started for me the majority of the season over Aaron Rodgers, and I was this close to winning. I had one bad week. He's in that almost Matthew Stafford. Mm-hmm. Don't know if he's ever going to be a winning quarterback.
Well, but
he is a phenomenal fantasy football quarterback.
Well, and listen, people at home, I never give advice because I never want to be the guy that gives people advice, and then next week people are like, oh, that was bad advice. Just take this advice from me, all right?
That's my opinion. It's not advice.
Well, yeah, you could take it as an opinion, advice, whatever. If anyone thinks that Jared Goff isn't a top 10 fantasy quarterback, you are wrong. And listen, people say, oh, well, Todd Gurley's not healthy. Okay, you know what that means? He's going to throw the ball more.
Jared Goff, at the worst to me, is a top 8 fantasy quarterback. At the worst.
To me, top 5 fantasy, I've got Mahomes 1, Wentz 2, Brady 3, Wilson 4, Breeze 5.
You forget about Breeze almost.
Because
he's not going to have a good year this year.
You don't think he's going to have a great year.
That's why I don't have him making the playoffs.
Right, but as far as fantasy perspective goes, as far as fantasy perspective goes, all of their checkdowns are to their running backs, which you have to remember yak yards count towards the quarterback's yards. So everything on those little screen plays, the little bubble plays are all
you're right. They
leans
nitpick.
his way.
Honestly, so Bill was saying, like, after Mahomes, I'm really confused on the next two. You know, who would it be? To be honest, could it be Baker? Because of what he has?
I'd put Baker in that conversation. This is me. This is not anything that's out there. I don't even know what the rankings are. I just heard certain guys like Rodgers and Brady had dropped down big time. If I'm giving my top 3, I'm going Pat Mahomes, Carson Wentz, and hot take, Jared Goff. I've seen what Jared Goff can do in fantasy football. And a healthier wide receiver core again this year. Robert Woods I love Robert Woods so much. I love the dynamic of the receivers they have on that team. You know, in the NFL, no, he may not even be a top 10 quarterback. In fantasy football, he is an absolute freaking stud.
So Bill jumps back in and asks, where do you put Rivers in the mix with?
My relationship in fantasy football with Phillip Rivers is extensive because my strategy has always been, and last year it changed because people finally got on the bandwagon. But for years, I sat back, and if I didn't get a top 3 or 4 quarterback, I waited until 10th round, 11th, or 12th round, and I always got Phillip Rivers. And he always put up 25 to 30 points every week in fantasy football. And people slept on him every year until last year when there was a lot of talk about what they did in last year's draft. People started saying, oh, Phillip Rivers might be a really good pickup this year. And he started going like 7th, 8th round.
So I'll tell you a little
But he was always my fallback quarterback.
The history with Phillip Rivers with me, it's the same. It's extensive. So
I've
last
had him on
year,
like 15 fantasy teams over the years.
Wow.
Literally.
So last year I drafted 2 quarterbacks, as you would, obviously. And, you know, for context, I always draft with my dad. Like, we always have like a Team Baroto type thing. So I always have him on the phone. And I'm talking to him. So I drafted Phillip Rivers 1 as my number 1. And I ended up drafting Mahomes as my number 2. So I'm thinking, this is Pat Mahomes. You know, he's this young kid. We don't know what he's going to do. Hey, maybe he'll have a couple good weeks for us. Turns out it's like freaking unbelievable. They both lit it up last year. Like for the first 10 weeks, it's Mahomes 1, Rivers 2. And it was crazy because no one talks about Phillip Rivers in fantasy.
Never.
Because, again, and I know it's because they used to play in San Diego. Now they play in a soccer stadium, and they're the second LA team. But it's like Phillip Rivers is always a borderline top 10 fantasy quarterback.
Phillip Rivers was always my favorite, best-kept secret in fantasy when it comes to the quarterback position.
I would label him as like the safest and most efficient pick at quarterback for fantasy because he never gets hurt, and he's always going to give you solid numbers at least.
On a bad week, you always got 22, 23 points at the worst. But every week, he would put up 25 to 35 points. Every friggin' week.
Up until last year, that's how Stafford was. He had, I believe, 4 or 5 straight seasons over 5,000 yards, and in a conversation where there was only 2 or 3 other guys to do it.
Right.
So,
and that's the difference. Isn't it crazy, Ryan, that we always talk about this, even before Kevin joined the show, we always talked about Matt Stafford is a guy who is praised because of the fantasy football era. Not a great quarterback. Nope. Yet you have a Phillip Rivers who has had somewhat, even moderate success, on the football field and has been a really, really solid, good fantasy football quarterback, and he gets disrespected in the league. Not in the league, but people who follow the league so friggin' much. And he only puts up five less points than Stafford every week.
So I gave you a quarterback that I think is being disrespected, that his stock is falling. I'm going to give you a quarterback that I think
the Super Bowl is why his stock has dropped.
Exactly.
As it should.
Understandable.
Shut up.
Yeah. Worst game ever, by the way. I regret even watching it.
Right.
I'll give you a guy and a name of a guy that I think is he's flying up, the rankings, and I think it's ridiculous. Jameis Winston. Yeah. Oh, but he has all the weapons. He stinks. He throws a dead ball.
He's not good. He's been for years though. Every other year he flies up the rankings and then he tanks. He stinks.
He might give you 4 touchdowns, but he's going to give you 2 turnovers, so it's going to cancel out.
Let me ask you this question, not related to him, but I want to ask you. Okay? Because I told you when we talked privately, I was going to give you the opportunity to address this.
Ooh, oh dear.
Where do you draft Josh Gordon this year?
And you did say he's going to play all.
He's going to get
I
drafted.
drafted
The guy got drafted when it was
Yeah.
known he was going to be out for an entire year, every year.
So I look at it this way. I look at him in the same sense as I look at a cream hunt. Is I look at them as I'm looking at my flex guys.
I mean, do you? Because you were 100% certain he's playing 16 games this year. So
Agreed.
wouldn't you draft him so you
I
could
look at him.
play him and he could be that under-the-radar starting wide receiver in your flex spot who's going to be better than your wide receivers in your starting
I just
spot?
said-
Because everybody slept on him because you guaranteed he's playing 16 games.
I just said I look at him at my flex spot. I think that he
But where do you draft the flex spot?
7-8.
I
6, 7,
sense
8.
You would waste a 7th or an 8th on Josh Gordon?
Yes,
You're
I
out
would.
of your friggin' mind. Out of your mind.
I sense uncertainty.
7 or 8. That's where I take.
He
it.
is so uncertain about all this.
I'm
He
dead
is.
certain.
He has dove
I-
head first in a pool of crap,
His
and he's
life-
trying to figure out
I
how he's
draft-
going to stay above.
His life
I
has
have a
flashed
draft-
before his eyes.
Put it this way, I am so certain that I draft tonight at 11:15. As soon as we go off air, I'm going into another draft party.
Oh,
I will
God.
take Gordon tonight. I'll put money on him.
Well,
You
you keep
dra-
us updated.
You know what?
I will.
If you're as confident in his success this year,
You'll draft him one.
you should draft him by the first 3 rounds.
That won't happen.
Well, then you're not certain.
Then you don't believe in the smoke that you're throwing out there. That's all it is smoke.
See that's the difference.
Fitting,
is I
too.
said that
Fitting.
I said that he would play 16 games. I didn't say he was a number 1 and should be taken that high.
I mean, what
It's-
are we doing? What are we doing today?
We're already
What
backpedaling.
are we?
How's that
We're taking-
backpedaling?
we're
You asked
backpedaling.
if I thought he would play all 16 games. Yes.
You have
Do I
been
think he leads the
hammering
league?
in the
No.
chat that we have about how when it comes to the Patriots and their wide receivers, how Josh Gordon's going to be this big difference maker, this big this and that for Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's adopted him as his new son, and he's going to open mouth kiss him. You did all that.
Right.
It's in the
There's a
chat,
difference.
and now you're backing off of it.
No, I'm not.
I'm holding you accountable for this.
It is the opposite of the Stafford situation as far as New England receivers go. Is Stafford not a good quarterback? Amazing in fantasy numbers. You got a guy like Josh Gordon. It's going to put up decent numbers, but it's too spread out in New England to take a guy like that early.
I'm holding you accountable. Laces out, Dan. Let's go. Great show this week, guys. We had a lot of fun. No huddle this week. We did it in the first half anyway. That was kind of our main no huddle we were going to throw out anyway.
It was.
And half the no huddles I think we had, one was going to be Josh Gordon, one was going to be Dallas Goedert. We kind of threw them in the middle of the show anyway. So, guys, appreciate you joining us on the YouTube, the Facebook. If you were with us earlier, too, on Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, A2D Radio, always bringing the content, bringing the fun and the fire, holding people like this accountable because that's what we do. It's the Real Talk Studios here. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. The Fix,
Yes, sir.
AM and the PM, Marathon Brodo tomorrow.
Getting 4 hours of me tomorrow.
4 hours of one of the handsomest young men
Oh, thank you.
in the radio business. So, thank you to our sponsors, Gibson Mayer LLC, Specialized Physical Therapy, Scanzano Sports. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. All great content on A2D throughout the week. For myself personally, for my fam out there, Lazy Booking for you wrestling nerds. We're coming back, ready to talk nerdy to you. Until then, we'll touch you guys. We'll catch you guys. We'll touch you guys. I'm touching.
You keep that
Uh-oh.
over there.
Hands touching hands. I will not be on next week on Birds of a Feather. And if
Disappointment.
Chucks doesn't have too much jet lag, there will be a show. If not, we'll let your fam know. We may not have a show next week. Hopefully we do. We'll wake Chucks up and light a fire in his ass. Until then, guys, have a great week and enjoy your weekend.